2016 was the warmest year on record. Scientists have been tirelessly working to create solutions to the threats posed by increasing emissions, populations, and wastes. But this critical progress has recently been challenged by America's newest administration. Using executive orders, Donald Trump has vowed to dissemble Obama's climate legacy. Some of these actions include removing regulations on coal mining, erasing climate change information from the EPA's website, and proposing major funding cuts to scientific research. But if 97% of the scientific community believes in climate change, why is there still so much confusion? I sat down with an accomplished professor, a scientific journalist, and a future environmental scientist to get some answers.
The difficulties in communicating science is the fact that it is inherently uncertain. And because of that uncertainty has been taken advantage of, abused in the past by those that are opponents to action.
As it turns out, the media struggles with this as well.
When something ends up being debunked, it's treated as a general distrust of science as an entire institution. Like, it's lying to us, how could they get this wrong? But that's how science goes. You work and then you reevaluate and you find something new and you throw out your old findings because they're outdated, or technology lets you find a better answer. And that's tough to convey.
And when people don't understand the scientific method and uncertainty,
right.
Do you think that scientific journalism is effective?
I don't want to say cater, but we're definitely more received by people who know science because they already have a leg up in understanding what we do and what we're talking about. We're not writing for the scientists, we're writing for people who will pick up the newspaper, read a headline on Twitter and want to learn more, and maybe they have a science background, maybe they haven't taken a class since high school, and we want to be able to reach everyone.
Even those comfortable in scientific settings can find research hard to digest.
Academic papers in general are very dry and use a lot of jargon, especially that unless you're in the field of research you would have difficulty understanding. I don't think I really would be able to approach a chem article or a physics article and completely understand what they're talking about. And I think that people feel that way about any field that isn't theirs.
To bridge these gaps, scientists are trying something new: public advocacy, or in simpler terms, protesting. On April 22nd, over 50,000 people gathered in their ponchos in Washington, D.C. in support of science-based policy. It was here that scientists of every discipline decided to take their work out of the lab and into the streets.
Trump, not my president, no pro-Trump, sorry.
These experts said goodbye to lengthy footnotes and technical vocabulary, instead opting for vibrant posters and catchy chants that everyone could take part in. With this new approach, scientists may be onto something, a revolution that could forever reshape the relationship of science, the media, and the public.
The scientist-activist is definitely a new role. I think it'll help journalists because it'll improve outreach, make people more willing to talk and maybe more energized to talk about important issues like climate change, healthcare, other pertinent science debates that have become so politicized.
And he's right. Scientists young and old actually approached me with what they wanted to say.
We're all scientists. Many of us, most of us chemists and molecular biologists, have seen how this administration has affected science funding and the availability of educational resources. It's kept 4 people from coming to join my laboratory from other countries already.
I was really encouraged by the March for Science. It was the first time for me that I'd seen scientists openly calling themselves scientists and openly protesting at the same time. Often a scientist, you might see a scientist at a protest, but the first thing they'll tell you is that they're there as a private citizen. They're not there as in their role as a scientist, right? Because they want to disassociate their political beliefs from the work that they do, because they don't want their work to be seen as somehow colored by their political beliefs. There's been a very recent change, and to me it's one of the silver linings of this political administration that we're in now.
Climate change is ultimately affecting all of us right now and will continue to affect us in the future, so there's a real need to understand it.
So what's next for science? Maybe it's being a more approachable professor or stepping down from the scientific pedestal. Maybe it's being a more responsible journalist or actively working to become a more informed student or citizen.
But when we look back at this time in our history, if you want to feel good about it in any way, you need to also be somewhat proud of the role that you played, right? You need to feel like you made an effort to somehow, fight, and that you didn't find an excuse not to do anything.
Moral of the story, everyone can do something to keep the silence out of science.